vigil, contemplate whether you would take on the burden of peerage and join the order of chivalry. But before we have the answer to your questions, we would hear the words of worthies to speak of your character.
Is there a companion of the Order of the Pelican to speak for this candidate?
That would be I, your majesties. I am Mistress Tadia Isabella de Bruno. Lots of other stuff. Your majesties, you know it's on you if it fails, right? This doesn't work out.
It's on us.
No. I have known Brien McShane for many years. And I am among the honored few to claim him as part of my family. I have known him as squire, I have known him as brother, I have known him as husband, as friend. And I have never once doubted his honor, his compassion, and his willingness to serve the betterment of the society. I have seen him at events for no other purpose than to give back to the group who has given him so much and the opportunities to pursue the passion that he lives and breathes for. And I can without a doubt in my mind claim him as one of the people in my life who makes me want to be better at what I do. For who he is, for what he does, and for what he will do for the society. I highly recommend him to you. Thank you.
Is there a member of the Order of the Laurel who will speak for this man?
Your Majesties, I, Pembridge, claim that right. Many years, this man and I have stood side by each on the fields of Penzic, on the Unbelt team. Laurels speak to art and creation. I would say, Your Majesties, good people of the East, that this man's creative spark comes with a weapon in his hand. This man is a killer, but he does so beautifully. Your Majesties, his art is the ability to put down his opponents cleanly and honorably. This man creates beautiful murder. Depending on the day, Your Majesty, sometimes it is cold-blooded. Your Majesties, I therefore, and have long felt, that this man is my peer, and I recommend him to you wholeheartedly.
Is there a Master of Defense to speak for this candidate?
Yes, Your Majesty. I, Borgia Nacilda, am exceptionally pleased, humbled, and happy to speak on behalf of all. I have seen this man transport people, objects, and hopes to events and places, and this inspires me beyond all measure. He has himself carried my own spear just on the off chance that I might be able to fight heaven, inspirational as it was. I am proud to support him as my peer.
Is there a Lady of the Rose to speak for this man?
Your Majesties, I'm Viscondesa Jimena Montoya, and I will speak for the candidate.
Thank you.
It comes to me as a Dame de la Mer to speak of Brian's courtesy. In his Dialogue of Chivalry, Duke Finbar de Tahi speaks of the importance of courtesy. Knighthood has no validity if the ability to use force, prowess, is not tempered by humility, courtesy, and the other gentle virtues. Thus, the most offensive fault any knight of our society can manifest is forgetting the duty to uphold the gentle virtues. When we think of courtesy, we most often think of flowery words and gracious shows, and it is perhaps true that Brian is more plainly spoken. But the true essence of courtesy is not in eloquence, but in action, in honesty, in goodwill, and in kindness. And these are things that Brian truly embodies. From the time that I first met him on the field of the Pensic War, I have seen Brian comport himself in all ways with this courtesy. At our most recent crown tourney, through the kindness of Her Majesty and the Ladies of the Rose, I was given the option to present a rose token. And I chose that day to recognize Brian, for though there were many that comported themselves with grace and courtesy on the field, it was Brian who worked from the beginning of the day, setting up the list field, marshalling, taking the list fields down, tirelessly and with goodwill, sorry. There's a lot of pollen. Working tirelessly and with joy that others might show their gentle virtues. This is courteous service. And this day was not an exception, but the example of how Brian worked in so many ways to give of his time and efforts in ways often unseen. Brian can often be found by the side of the field, working with new fighters, taking time from his own pursuit of prowess and puissance to work with others and to advance theirs in a way that this is also courtesy, giving to those who can give the giver nothing tangible other than to the enrichment of our society as a whole. I'm sorry, I'm going to keep talking. And here too you see his humility, because he's never too proud to learn from others. And this courtesy extends also to the battlefield, which is a place in which courtesy shines most becomingly. For is it not told that in a battle of the Third Crusade on the way to Jaffa, the forces of Saladin and King Richard met in battle, and King Richard's horse was slain from beneath him. And Saladin, seeing this, sent a horse from his personal stable, that Richard not fight unhorsed or on a horse unworthy of him. So too, on the field of battle, does Brian excel, but take no unfair advantage, conjoining puissance and courtesy. Your Majesties, in this martial courtesy and joy, for it is always a joy to fight alongside or against him, in his generous and humble service, and in his honesty, kindness, and goodwill, this man is a true knight. Thank you.
Is there a member of the Order of Chivalry who will speak for this man?
There is. I, Edmund O'Rourke, will speak for Lord Brien McShane. I would ask first if, don't worry, it's not this long. I would ask first if I may read a letter from Baroness Salima. Brian, the Dragonhearts were so happy to hear about your upcoming knighting. What an exciting and well-deserved accomplishment for you. Although Sir Frederick Dragonheart is no longer with us, I know that he is smiling down upon you with great pride. The time and devotion that he dedicated to the Eastern Kingdom and to l'Île de Dragon d'Ormand was always a great source of pride and satisfaction. Even after moving to the Middle Kingdom, he always said that the Eastern Kingdom and Dragon d'Ormand was our home, and Brian, you are an important part of why we felt this way. Brian, you have always been a gentleman and respectful to all those around you. Your devotion, both to your friends and family, have always stood out for us. Your humor, loyalty, and gentleness to everyone was always evident. The Dragonhearts have appreciated your friendship at home and your unwavering support on the great battlefields at Pensic. Some of our fondest memories are with you: combat practice in the gym, then going out together for a meal and a drink as a family, living together at Pensic, and of course practicing and fighting together in war. Finally, spending time at Coldwood and Mud Mountain with Horace and Vicky, honoring our fighting and drinking skills. Vivat! Lords and ladies, I have the honor of speaking for Lord Brien. I have known Lord Brien for many, many, many years. I first met him back then. The world was young and I had hair. But before we talk about the future, I would like to go to the past to shine a bit of light on the character of the person kneeling before us today. And God said, "Let there be light." Sorry, too far back. I've had the honor and pleasure of training with Brien on and off the field for the better part of 25 years. And I can say that with confidence that the man before us today is a man who has grown and changed enormously over the years and is the product of both his environment and fighting in the East, as well as his individual drive and willingness to face any and all challenges, both on and off the field. While there are many who have come with great potential, it takes a special type of character to maintain one's growth year over year and raise one's martial skills to that of the level of a peer. Fortitude, dedication, tenacity, persistence, stubbornness, and some of the key character attributes required to achieve such growth. I realized many, many moons ago that Lord Brien was one of these special people. During a training session when the bucket was required, mid-training. Now normally, after such unpleasantries, a mere mundane would pack it a day and never come back. But Lord Brien was not fazed, ashamed, or even put off. Instead, he returned with a level of tenacity that reflects his true spirit. He returned to finish the training session and has never once complained or backed down, instead putting his nose to the grindstone and making it a reality. This same level of tenacity was apparent in his frequent appearances in the bear pit of old, where many of the same qualities held center stage, and many a hematoma were enjoyed by those who entered the pit with Lord Brien. Why, may you ask, do I focus on these martial skills? While there is not a single standard by which people have defined chivalrous behavior through the ages, I believe that there is a fundamental difference between being a good master or knight and being good at being a knight. When we ask what qualities make a good knight, we hear values such as justice, mercy, generosity, and nobility as the knightly virtues that clearly define chivalry. While these values are incredibly important, we cannot forget its strength, courage, mastery, and honor that are the foundation stones. These are the alpha values of chivalry. They are the fundamental, because without them, no higher values can be entertained. In dire times, when the East Kingdom is threatened, the first job of the Order of Chivalry has always been to keep the perimeter, face the dangers, and fight on behalf of the crown and the realm. Only through strength of arms can a chiv make all these other valuables possible. And I say with wholehearted today that Lord Brien is one of these types who can stand and can fight. He possesses those fundamental martial and mental skills to crush our enemies, to drive them back from where they came. I won't mention the lamentation of the women. Lord B is exactly the type of fighter you want at your side when you need it most, whether that means holding a bridge or anchoring a line. It is these very situations that his proficiency with pole and greatsword shine at their zenith, and are a testament to his martial training, his mental capacity and tenacity to overcome, and his deep-rooted desire to crush his opponents before him. Lord Brien has repeatedly evolved over the years and has improved his fighting style and prowess in that time. In the early years, when he was young, his fighting primarily with polearm, it was said that Lord Brien hit like a girl, and his shots were tippy. I can say firsthand that that challenge has been resolved. I've hit many times, and have even received a blow that left me on the floor staring googly-eyed at the sky. Probably the second hardest hit I ever had after Thorson knocking my teeth out in the bear pit. So while we may still say that he hits like a girl, that girl would need none other than the likes of Grace Jones, in strength, not in looks. After upping his power and his fighting prowess, Lord Brien worked on new polearm techniques that few short of the pole demigods such as Master Tyrlock would be capable of performing. I'm speaking of the abilities such as those of being able to use his polearm to wrap middies in the back of the head on the while leaning halfway off a bridge on a Pennsic battle. And this from a man who is not gifted with an overabundance of flexibility or agility. With these alpha virtues of chivalry firmly set in place, Lord Brien has also refined those higher values, as such as generosity and nobility in his regular training of new local fighters, while also traveling far and wide across our fair lands to share his knowledge and skills with many others within the realm. His booming voice and cheerful laughter and biting commentary can be regularly heard on the field of many a tournament, and we have all proffered as a result. One to always speak his mind, Lord Brien will never shy away from telling the truth, and will always speak it from his heart and with passion, taking the high road no matter at what price he has to pay as a result. If you were to ask if Lord Brien was to jump from a bridge, would I be there to catch him? I would answer a resounding no. Not because I would not want to catch this good man, because I would be at his side jumping off the very same bridge as a brother and fellow peer. Lord Brien stands out in my mind both on and off the field for the old motto, Nemo me impune lacesset. No one attacks me with impunity. Lord Brien is the type of man who, when the enemy presses hardest, you will always find him in the thick of things, by your side, with a smile on his face and a pile of dead middies behind him. Courage requires risk. Mastery requires hard work. And honor requires accountability to your fellow peers. Lord Brien is in possession of all these virtues. He is duly and truly prepared, worthy and well qualified, and properly vouched for. Seeing as Lord Brien comes in possession with all these virtues, I defer to your grace for the honor and glory of the East, a further mark of your approval.
Having heard these words, we would now have the answer to the question. Will you assume the burden of peerage and join the chivalry? So be it. Sir Stephen, before me kneels the squire, and we cannot continue while that is. We call forth the Order of Chivalry to witness this ceremony. Is there a belt? Your lady?
This belt is new like this night. We'll have to change it.
Are there spurs?
There are.
These spurs were gifted to Brien from Master Eddie. They were his great-great-grandfather's. They were worn by his great-great-grandfather, a British cavalry officer in France during World War I.
dub thee once for honor. We dub thee twice for glory. We dub thee thrice for Brien and Nathan.
Brien, I have known you for years, and I know your word to be true. I have witnessed your love for our society through your service, through your actions. I hear your words, I know them to be true.
Brien, as a peer of this realm, know that you have the protection of the crown. If you would have anything of us, you have but to ask. So I swear, Henry.
And I, Evelina. Now you won't be cold tonight, Brien.
Brien, let this be the last blow you accept unanswered.